Pac-12 men's soccer is brought to you by State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. A ride by the main quad on the campus of Stanford University, and just down the way is Laird Q. Kagan Stadium, where we are going to decide the Pac-12 men's soccer champion for this year. Round 2 between Stanford and Washington. Round 1 was back on March the 20th. Tough, hard-fought game, as it usually is between these two, and it came down to this. 85th minute, Dylan Tevis, was he offside? It depends on whom you ask, but he gets the goal, gives the Huskies the 1-0 lead over the Stanford Cardinal, and the celebration that day in March up at Husky Soccer Field. That was then. This is now, as we are here at Laird Q. Kagan Stadium. Dylan Tevis, a team leader in goals, 7 of them so far this season, has had big moments against the Cardinal throughout his career. Also had a big goal for the Huskies against Stanford 2 years ago. Moment of solidarity first. And off we go. Cardinal Huskies. The Pac-12 championship is at stake. Enjoy the match. Washington ranked number 6 in this week's coaches poll. They are 10-2 on the season and 7-2 in Pac-12 play. Stanford ranked number 8 in the coaches poll, 8-2-1 on the year and 6-2-1 in Pac-12 play. A very slim margin separating those two teams in the standings, and it's fitting because a very slim margin generally separates these two teams on the pitch as well. Talking to both the head coaches, Jamie Clark for UW and Jeremy Gunn for Stanford, and they both had variations on the same thing. As Jamie said, look, we both tend to play very great wide open soccer, a very entertaining style, until we play each other. And then it's just a real gutter war. Jamie Clark, Stanford class of 1999, by the way, out of bounds. And the Huskies to throw it in. Falls along the back touchline and sent out of bounds. There's Jeremy Gunn in his 9th year as the head coach at Stanford. Says that he saw when the schedule came out and the Washington game at home was the finale, and he said, ooh, that could be interesting. We said the same thing too. Corner kick for the Huskies. Towards the front post. And cleared out eventually by the Cardinal. Talking to Jamie Clark and catching up with him briefly before the match today, and I asked him, set pieces so critical, how critical might they be today? And he said, well, they'll kind of fall behind our normal priorities of being territorial and getting things done in transition, but execution and defense of set pieces are also super critical. That young man right there will be a big lever for the Huskies in executing set pieces and corner kicks. We talked about him at the start of the show. And we mentioned the small margins separating these two teams. 10 of the last 11 meetings between Stanford and Washington have been decided by 1 goal or less. Free kick for the Huskies. Ostrom lines him up. Headed back, but it bounces off to the other side and out of bounds. Washington to throw it in. Lineups for the Stanford Cardinal. As mentioned, Zach Ryan not starting today. He will come off the bench, so it's Gabe Siegel and the senior Charlie Wien getting the start up front. Headed out by the Cardinal, sent back. Thomas, the keeper, called for it, but instead it was headed out of there and then just chipped out. And Washington will throw it in once more. The UW lineup looks like this. I mentioned Dylan Tevis at the start of the show. Also watch out for Gio Miglietti and Nick Stardina, who has scored goals in bunches. A hat trick in the Husky season opener and 2 against UCLA last week. Christian Soto high in the air. The turn off the ground, blocked. Lucas Meek appeared to send that one goalward, but that might have been blocked, perhaps off the line. Just outside the 18, and Meek, with the Cardinal player going down, that's Keegan Hughes. We'll take a closer look at it ourselves. As Meek caught Hughes in the midsection. Hughes is okay. The sophomore from Heath, Ohio, has some size to him, 6'2". And he has established himself along the Cardinal back line. Well, as we hinted at a few moments ago, get used to it, folks. This is going to be a physical bang-up matchup, as it always is between these two. Andrew Thomas, the Cardinal keeper, starts it off. Falls beyond Ryan Saylor, who shields things off. And Sam Fowler, the Husky keeper, with his first touch of the afternoon. Fowler, the sophomore from Issaquah, Washington. He's had a terrific season so far. Actually leads the Pac-12 in save percentage, .788. And he and the Husky defense have done terrific things. Only one team this year has scored multiple goals against the Huskies, and that's Oregon State. The whistle. As Ostrom was sent cartwheeling to the ground. But Oregon State, the only team to score multiple goals on the Cardinal, I should say, as I correct myself, but Washington has done terrific things defensively as well. Top of the box sent out. I believe Wien got a foot on that one. Meek setting it up, sliding it towards the penalty spot. And errant and off the mark, off the foot of Ryan Crowley. Well, so far, Washington with more chances to this point. As you look at Andrew Thomas, the keeper from London, England. All Pac-12 first team in the 2019 season. His 6th start against the Huskies in his career. Has made 26 saves along the way against UW. Has triple citizenship, the United States, the United Kingdom, and Russia. How about that? Flicked back. Perhaps a little friendly fire by the Huskies. At the other end, Soto bothering Seagull. And swiped away, Lucas Meek. Meek, a fantastic story. Ahead towards Miglietti, sweeps it forward. Soto at top speed. And sent away, but saved. Scardina plays it forward. And the flag up on the far side as that one bounced towards Lucas Meek. Well, transition was one of the things on Jamie Clark's mind. And that was an intriguing sequence as the Huskies turned things around and had some options, but unfortunately, I believe there were 2 purple shirts who were beyond everyone else. It's already a fast and furious start, tempo-wise, for this one, as you get a look at Dylan Tevis. Towards Wien. Miglietti backs up. Tevis can't locate it. Trying to turn, get a little room, chop down. Forward towards Tevis, but the Cardinal there defensively. Through the traffic, hangs on to it, and there's the whistle. Kendall Burks with the foul. We'll take another look at it as Jack O'Brien was off and running and tried to slide it out to the teammate, but couldn't get enough on it and then got clipped down to the turf for his trouble.
Paulson Adebo, one of the top corners in the draft, will be an NFL starter day one. As David Shaw said, the most important thing to do as a DB is to stop the ball from being completed. And as a sophomore, Adebo did just that, as he led the nation in passes defended. And the next year, led the Pac-12 in passes defended, and was top 5 in the nation. His unique trait is his ball skills, and that is not a surprise, as he was recruited out of high school as a wide receiver at a lot of premier universities. At 6'1", 190 pounds, he has the length and frame to win in press coverage or late downfield. And opt-out in the 2020 season, he ran a 4.42 at his pro day. When you watch him on film, his willingness to tackle is something that stands out and is a difference maker among others at corner. Add in that he was trained by one of the most respected defensive back coaches in all of sports, Dwayne Aquina. His foundation at corner is as good as anyone in this year's draft.
So a set piece opportunity for the Cardinal, where Stanford has certainly done much of its best work over the years. And certainly this could promise to be one of the bigger keys to this game. Burks in the book, Fowler in net, and a high chipper. Fowler comes away and crashes in, trying to find his foot, shoots, blocked. Fowler kicks it away. Second effort, Will Richmond tries for it, off of the Huskies, and out of bounds. A corner kick coming up for the Cardinal. Helter-skelter sequence as Fowler couldn't hang on to it, and then Wynn tried to slot it through. But Sam Fowler, with the quick feet, making the big save. So here we go at this end of the pitch. The right foot bending, crashing in, but the header goes in the opposite direction. Keeps it in bounds. No. Goal kick for the Huskies. I believe that was Keegan Tingey who had the chance at the header for the Cardinal. Well, it's been end-to-end so far. Heavy action in the first 10 minutes here on the farm. There's Keegan Tingey, the sophomore from Danville, California. Schwarz Miglietti, out of bounds. Stanford to throw it in. We mentioned the injury note to Zach Ryan. One other injury note for the Cardinal, Cam Silly, the midfielder for Stanford. There was some question as to whether he would be able to start for this one. He is in the 11. It's that time of year, you get banged up, you get bruised, where if you've played really at any length this year, you're not really 100%. There's Cam. And Jeremy Gunn said, look, it's that time of year. If you're hurt, you don't play. If you're hurting, well, that's something different. Throw in for the Cardinal. Off the side of the foot, keeps it on the ground, sent out by the Huskies. UW pushing up. Abrahamian, check that, Ryan Ludwig. Sizing it up, sends the left foot just inside the box. And cleared out again by UW. And play back to Thomas. Gorgeous 72-degree day here on the farm. Feels weird to have these two teams playing in this kind of weather. Soto chipped down in the midfield. Mark Fisher is called for the foul. It's going to be tough sledding for basically everybody you would imagine in the midfield, as not much room is going to be given to anyone on either side. Situational football, here we go again. Ostrom in the air. And that one is sent well out of the park. Ryan Crowley might have had a chance to make the hard volley towards the net, but instead it was a teammate who put that. Championship Saturday. The Pac-12 does not have a conference tournament, as you get a look at Ryan Crowley and some of his information. But no conference tournament here in the Pac-12. Everybody plays each other twice during the regular season. And the title will be awarded here on the farm today. And both head coaches, Jeremy Gunn and Jamie Clark, appreciative of being in this situation, more so now than normal because of the fact that we didn't know if there was going to be a season until after the new calendar year. But to go from that to here, both coaches extremely grateful that their respective squads are in this situation here today. Falls off of Tingy's foot. Kalani Kosarienzi to throw it in. He's a freshman from Berkeley. Kosarienzi from Berkeley High School. How did he get out of Kevin Grimes' backyard? Siegel out of bounds. And out onto the entry plaza. Richmond with a throw, and Wien handled it, perhaps inbounds with his hand. Washington tried to signal that to the official. But that's the throw, and that'll count. Tingy. Dispossessed. Meek. Fouled from behind. Well done by the Huskies to swipe the ball away. Meek was off and running, but there's the chip from behind. And Andrew Abrahamian.
Stanford, number 19.
So already 2 yellow cards issued in this match. One for UW, Kendall Burks in the 9th minute. And that one given to Jack O'Brien. "15 minutes in, scoreless here on the farm between Stanford and Washington. Richmond finds another gear. Keeps it in bounds. The left foot deflected. May have been a handball, not called. Instead, Fowler with the collection. Ostrom hangs on to it, despite losing his balance momentarily. Trying to settle it. Inaccurate pass. Scardina able to break it up, but a foul called on UW. And Ryan Crowley with his hands up as if to say, what? What did I do? Stanford and Washington have been the standard in Pac-12 men's soccer over the last couple of years. Of course, the cardinal with the three-peat with the 3 national titles, 2015, 16, and 17. Washington made it to the quarterfinals last season. Had a 1-0 lead in the second half against Georgetown, but couldn't hang on to it. That one's in the box. Scardina had it at his foot, finally located it, and got it away. Huskies lost to Georgetown in the quarterfinals. Stanford suffered the same fate in the 2019 semis in the College Cup. And the Hoyas went on to win the whole ball of wax. Tevis, Washington to throw it in. Reinforcements getting ready along the far side for the Cardinal. Falls to Miglietti. And the kick to go in Stanford's direction. Behind the reinforcements we showed you were the championships, the numerous ones that Stanford has won, certainly over the last few years. They had their streak of 5 consecutive Pac-12 titles broken last year by those Huskies. And it all moves to the knockout stage very, very soon. Selection Monday coming up after this weekend is done. Just 36 teams in the NCAA men's tournament this year, and the whole thing, all venues, will be in North Carolina. So this will be the final soccer match played in this stadium, in this facility, for this year. Of course, the winner of the Pac-12 championship gets an automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. Too hard off of Soto's foot. Kosarienzi fighting. That ball twists out of everyone's range and no one can get there. Whoever doesn't come up with the result today is in pretty good shape for an NCAA tournament bid via the at-large method. As Charlie Wien streams down the near side. 2 purple shirts. Gets it back somehow, keeping it away from Ryan Saylor. Finds a teammate, Richmond. Richmond off of UW, out of bounds, and a corner kick coming. Well, Wien fighting and somehow not giving up on that play when he was converged upon by 2 Huskies, including Ryan Saylor, who has played very well, the 5th-year senior cornerback, or center back, I should say. But Richmond able to start it. Richmond nearly finished it. Corner kick for Stanford. Back post. And the whistle goes in Washington's direction. And too quick of a restart. There's Gio Miglietti, the junior from Hawthorne, California. Scored in both of the Huskies games against Oregon State. Washington coming to the farm off of a 5-1 win over UCLA on its senior day, back on April the 8th. So this is their first game played in 9 days. And if you tuned in late to that match, like I did, it was likely over by the time you got there. UW was up 4-0 just 26 minutes in. Thomas sizing it up off the top of the net. Thomas trying to judge the fly ball, but it landed just inches beyond his grasp and onto the top of the net. Meanwhile, last week for Stanford, they went up to Corvallis, and they were ahead 2 minutes and 20 seconds in. Zach Ryan with his 9th goal of the year. But then after that, according to Jeremy Gunn, they just kind of went lackadaisical a bit defensively, which is a very rare occurrence for this program under that guy. And did not defend very well at all for the remainder of the first half. Beavers were ahead 3-1 by the break and went on to the 3-2 win. Wien a little pressure on Fowler. Oregon State has established itself a bit over the last couple of years as a team to be reckoned with, of course, in the Pac-12. And even with the Beavers' ascendance, it still comes down to these two teams, Stanford and Washington. Wien looking for options. Still has it. Plays it back. Ludwig, far side. Bounding forward. And off of Soto's foot, Stanford to throw it in. And that is what's at stake for this one. A UW win or tie means the Huskies repeat as champions. A Stanford win gives the Cardinals 6 of the last 7 conference titles. The last team to win the Pac-12, not named either Stanford or Washington, UCLA back in 2012. Since then, it's either been Stanford or Washington. And this season, no different. The bouncing throw. Keeps it on the ground with a little contact in the corner. And all the Cardinal reserves down there staying warm, trying to lobby the officials to have the call made. As Abrahamian was in the mix on that one. But Oregon State on the periphery, and maybe I would like their chances of getting in the NCAA tournament, barring any weird finals they have today down at San Diego State, which is possible. Beyond the penalty spot, O'Brien puts a snap header down, but it bounces away from goal. Huskies can't clear completely. The center, the header, not on frame. Well, Stanford, attacking-wise, at its best when the passes are crisp and when guys are moving off the ball. For the most part, things have fared well in that department to this point for Stanford overall, as they've been able to also accomplish a few things in transition. And the attack has fared quite well for much of the year. 8 different goal scorers, and 13 different players with at least 1 point, or more than 1 point, I should say, on the entire season. And all of this without Oseni Buddha, the Pac-12 Freshman of the Year. And talking to Gabe Seagull, who has had some fantastic moments of his own with 6 goals this season, following Stanford's win over San Diego State a couple weeks ago, he said, yeah, we've done some good things on our attack this year, but we're at least 10 times better when Oseni Buddha is in the mix. Buddha was out and warming up with Stanford before the match, by the way, but I don't believe that he is in the mix to appear in this one, but we'll see. Well, here's a fairly familiar setup. It feels like we've seen this situation already a handful of times midway through the first half. Tevis takes it. And Thomas with a nice call and a nice claim. The presence from the 6'2" keeper. Combination play for the Cardinal. The crisp movement, the running off the ball, and the shot just trickles off of Fowler's right arm. Well, that is one of the better builds that Stanford has had, and the hard shot, believe that was Gabe Seagull, who uncorked it and tested Fowler and almost got it through. Setting up the corner kick. Back post, nope. Burks putting a head on that for the Huskies. Tries the bicycle kick in traffic. I don't think he connected on it. Gabe Siegel's been busy, the sophomore from Bethesda, Maryland. Overtime game winner at San Diego State earlier this year. And scored in the 80th minute to beat the Beavers in that 3-2 roller coaster of a match right here at Kagan Stadium back on March 13th. Siegel also had a goal against the Huskies when these two teams met in Seattle last year, or last season, I should say. And that was the only goal of the match. It was a whistler off the foot of Oseni Buda that was deflected in by Siegel. So Buda got the assist on that sequence. It was just an absolute laser. And Siegel just had it nick off of him and into the net for the only goal of that match. A 1-0 final that seems to be typical of this series between these two. Bounces over Burks, challenging. Siegel shoved off by Saylor. Out to Meek. And now Tevis. Near side. Kosarienzi. Intercepted by the Cardinal. And they're bringing it the other way. Tried to squeeze it to Keegan Tingey. Through ball. Beyond everyone. Well, we've had plenty of moments of back and forth action so far in this one. Transition has played a key. High-level soccer played to this point. You wouldn't expect anything less between these two. Here's Oseni Buda, the player on the right, closest to the cooler. Pac-12 Freshman of the Year, has not played this year, has been injured. It's all Pac-12 first team in 2019. But even without his services, and at one point it looked as if he might be back for the second half of the season, but still has not seen the field to this point. But even without his services, the Stanford attack, for the most part, has been able to click. Thanks to Zach Ryan, whom we have not seen yet in this match. Charlie Wien. Jack O'Brien, Gabe Siegel, carrying the torch in that department as well for the Cardinal. The throw in for Stanford, the flick forward. And rolling back, eventually to Thomas. Sending it forward and out of bounds. I believe that's Zach Ryan in the middle of your screen, getting loose. Still trying to recover from the very hard tackle that we showed you at the beginning of the show. That happened last week against Oregon State. Talking to Jeremy Gunn, and he said, look, I think that Zach Ryan's the Pac-12 Player of the Year, and apparently our opponents do too, the way they mark him. To Tingey. Ludwig switches field. Down the sideline, harassed momentarily. Too hard. Towards Meek. And up towards the press box on the far side. Lucas Meek, the redshirt junior from Mercer Island, Washington, hit the game winner in double overtime here in this building last season. There's Lucas. Only played 3 minutes his first 2 years in the UW program. Redshirted in 2017. His main role that season was as a hype man for the bench and played just 3 minutes in 2018. Coincidentally enough against Stanford. And he was frustrated after that year. And he talked with the head coaches and said, hey, what do I have to do? And the coaches said, hey, just keep your positive attitude. Just keep at it, because that's what's setting you apart from just about everyone else on this team. So he kept that positive attitude, made the road trip, the opening road trip out to Michigan State in 2019, and then got inserted into the match right before the half, and he scored just a couple minutes in. And he hasn't looked back for the most part from there. Substitutions for the Cardinal. Among the new Stanford players coming in is that guy, Zach Ryan, the redshirt junior from Chatham, New Jersey. 9 goals to lead the Cardinal. Thomas's clear doesn't go as far downfield as he would have preferred. Huskies to throw it in. Just over 30 minutes in, we're scoreless between Washington and Stanford. Troy Clarity taking you through it here on the Pac-12 Network. Hope you're enjoying your Saturday afternoon. Hope you're enjoying the match. We got a championship to decide here, folks. Washington wins or ties. Huskies win the title. Stanford wins. The Cardinal get the title. Long throw into the box. Ludwig with the header. And then Thomas goes up with both hands and brings it in. Ahead to Ryan. Ryan with the handle. Taken down. And this is going to be a bit of a sore spot here, as Ryan taken down, and a little pushing and shoving between the Cardinal and Husky players. But this is certainly going to be a sore spot. As we mentioned earlier, opponents have been a bit physical with their marking with Zach Ryan. You would expect that. But Jeremy Gunn says that maybe some of those markings have been a bit over the line. He certainly was not pleased with the tackle last week up in Corvallis.
Go kids, put it on.
Free kick. Claimed by Fowler, but perhaps a violation against Stanford of some sort. But keep an eye on Zach Ryan, a close eye on him. Washington certainly will, as would any opponent that Stanford faces. Carlo Agostinelli in the match for the Cardinal, as he was one of the Stanford players who just entered a couple moments ago. Soto outside. Ostrom tries to play it down the sideline, instead blocked off a Cardinal player. Ostrom with 10 assists coming into this match, tied for second most in Division I ball entering the week. Oakland University's Noah Jensen had 14. Out of bounds. But Ostrom with those 10 assists leading the Pac-12, as that one is rejected from the top of the 18 down to Costa Rienzi. Off of Ryan's head, Costa Rienzi plays it forward once more. Tevis to Crowley, out to the far side. Left foot, sized up well by Thomas. Thomas, one of the better keepers you're going to find on this level on balls in the air. crosses, centers. Seems to be able to locate it so quickly and to announce his presence and say, hey, keeps ball. I got it. Top of the 18, trying to find his foot. Will Richmond converging, but sent out by Kosa Rienzi. Waits, Tingy, centered, off the foot of Ryan, no. Zach Ryan with his closest chance to this point. Scored twice against the California Golden Bears on February 20th. Was all Pac-12 honorable mention last season. And he's been a bit of a thorn in the Husky side throughout his career. 5 goals played against UW, 3 goals scored. Substitution for Stanford, Reese DeSoto. Coming in, redshirt junior from Aurora, Colorado. Appearing in his 9th match of the season. Throw in for Stanford. DeSoto coming in for Gabe Siegel. The shove from behind. And that'll get the whistle with the linesman making the signal. Ryan Saylor back up to his feet. Saylor and Kendall Burks, the 2 center backs for the Huskies. And that was a bit of a worry point for Jamie Clark heading into this season. He admitted he was a little nervous having lost Ethan Bartlow and Freddie Kleeman to the MLS. They were both first-round picks. And it happened just a couple weeks before the season. And all of a sudden, Jamie Clark has a couple of center backs to try to replace. So he lost a little sleep heading into the season with that development. But Burks and Saylor have both been terrific in their respective departments. Off a Cardinal defender, as Meek was in the area trying to offer his services, and finally gets the hand up, and Abrahamian needed a moment to gather himself back on his feet. And now takes his place. From Tevis. In the air, sailing back. And a whistle called against the Huskies. Tevis with that game winner against the Cardinal last month. By the way, this season, he is 4 of 4 in penalty kicks, including the game winner in overtime against San Diego State. Boy, what a match that was. The Aztecs had the Huskies dead to rights up in Seattle earlier this season. But then UW scoring twice late in the match, including in the final minute of regulation, and then Tevis nailing the penalty kick in extra time. Tingy searching, gets it back, trying to squeeze it to Ryan. The recoil off of Silly. And a goal kick for the Huskies. Substitution for UW. Miglietti off. Gabe Threadgold is on. Threadgold, a redshirt freshman from Bremerton, Washington, has started one match this year. That was against Seattle U, and notched an assist last week against UCLA. To Scardina. Tevis turning. Back out to Scardina. The center towards Threadgold. Off of his foot and out of bounds. So Threadgold immediately thrust into the action after coming off of the bench. Jeremy Gunn continuing to go to his bench. Aiden Weaver replacing Will Richmond. Weaver, a freshman from Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania, appearing now in his 6th match this year. Crowley and Meek converging as the ball came down. And Washington to throw it in. 5 minutes to go in the first half. Both teams coming close, but looking for the moment. That'll at the very least put them on the board, if not break this game open. But the way these two teams play against each other, I'm not sure that either of these squads are going to break it open necessarily. Down the near sideline, Kosarienzi handles it and looks for someone to throw it into. Mentioned that Kosarienzi chose Washington over Portland, and I was joking with Jamie Clark and said, hey, how'd you get him out of Kevin Grimes' backyard at Cal? And Jamie said, well, Kalani didn't play for an academy, so Cal may not have recruited him, but he has that Berkeley mindset. Doesn't worry about too much. He's worldly and he's smart, which dovetails nicely with something that Kalani's high school coach said about him at Berkeley High. Said he's a good kid, full of life, and he's funny, and everyone likes him. So high praise from both of Kalani's most recent head coaches. I'm sure they both like what he's done on the field too, as he sends that forward. It's like watching a tennis match for a moment. Tingy hangs on to it. Silly. Feeding Weaver. Hard collision. And yep, the foul on Kosarienzi. As Weaver was sent helicoptering to the ground. 3 minutes to go in the first half. The view from behind the net. In the mixer, off the top of the net. Close call for the Cardinal. Played into the box. And very, very close. Keegan Hughes came very close to sniffing that one out. Hughes, in just his sophomore year, becoming a very effective center back. And becoming the latest in a long line of terrific defensive players here on the farm. Ostrom's not bad. He plays for Washington. Almost got it back. And a throw-in for the Huskies. Ostrom taking his time. Enjoying a leisurely Saturday afternoon stroll, rather, back to the ball. Headed back. Off of Threadgold. Trying to track it down. Cardinal win it. The through ball too far ahead. Final minute, first half. Kosarienzi throws it in. Ryan bounces beyond him. And DeSoto tried to get a handle on that. Ball's out of bounds again. Kosarienzi wins it. Tevis to thread gold. Off the Stanford defender. And the clock ticking. Can the Huskies put it back in play? Tevis gives it a shot towards the penalty spot. Saved, blocked off the line. And that is how the first half comes to an end. And the first 45 minutes have looked pretty much how we thought it would. Physical, end-to-end, and heart-stopping action at times. Zach Ryan coming off of the bench and making things happen for the Stanford Cardinal, while the Washington Huskies certainly with moments of their own. Halftime is here on the farm, and we are scoreless between the Huskies and the Cardinals. As even with the shortened season, it has been a sprint in some respects, and in others, just a completely strange setup. With the long layoff that both teams, everyone, and just about everyone, certainly the Pac-12 anyway, has had to deal with. Varying degrees of abilities to train during the long layoffs in the fall. Some teams could, others couldn't. And that has resulted in some instances in more soft tissue injuries. I've talked to numerous coaches up and down the Pac-12 and in both the men's and the women's side, and they've certainly noticed those sorts of instances during these spring seasons. Long throw. Back post and beyond as it bounces out of Kagan Stadium. Closer look at the scoreboard around the Pac-12 on the men's side for today. Gloria Amanda, typical day at the office for him with the brace. And Jack Singer putting the Bears on top. As Cal leads that one 3-2. That game is moved to the 75th minute. But this is the match that has the championship attached to it. Stanford and Washington. The switch. Setting it up. Finding O'Brien, the header, and coming off and making the play is Ryan Saylor, who swoops in from out of nowhere and has it go off this foot and out of bounds. Fowler may have been able to track it down, but Saylor didn't leave that one to chance.
Number 7, Will Richmond.
Another instance where Stanford has been able to find players, find teammates. Just haven't been able to find the back of the net. Neither team has to this point. Will Richmond, the corner. Right foot in the air, headed out Saylor. And finished off by Scardina. We mentioned the long layoff that everyone certainly in the Pac-12 had. What's going to be intriguing to see is that a few of the conferences competed last fall. The ACC, the SEC, and the Big 12. Those conferences competed last fall, but obviously have not to this point this spring. But they'll be included in the NCAA tournaments as well. What will they look like? Hard to simulate high-level soccer like this if you haven't played it in a few months. That could potentially favor the teams the conferences rather, that waited till the spring. We'll start finding out later on this month. Wien finds O'Brien, one time blocked. Burks, right place, right time. Well, Ryan Saylor a few minutes ago coming out of nowhere, and Kendall Burks the same. The anticipation, able to swallow up and absorb the potential shot attempt by Cam Silly. And there's Burks there. Needs to be stretched out with a little help from his teammate Sam Fowler and now from the Washington training staff. This is the kind of match with the stakes attached to it and with the style of play that these two teams have against each other. It just seems more fitting to have this game played in November, right? Chilly night, maybe some rain, some mist, especially if you're up in Seattle. But here it is, a beautiful 72-degree day here on the farm. But no matter the setting, stakes high between the Huskies and the Cardinal. And both of these squads have certainly racked up the hardware throughout the course of the season. Pac-12 Players of the Week this year, well represented by both of these teams. Cam Silly for the Cardinal, most recently for them, Dylan Tevis with his performance in Week 7. Charlie Ostrom as well, and Nick Scardina, who had a hat trick against Northwest University on February the 4th. That got him the first Pac-12 Player of the Week of this season. Scardina with a hat trick, and followed that up with a brace in his most recent performance against UCLA. So a hat trick and a brace for that young man. But as mentioned, these two teams play wide open. They play a great style, except against each other. If you're an old school NFL fan, it's not quite unlike what the Raiders and the Steelers would do back in the 70s. Or more recently, the Niners and the Seahawks. Bay Area versus Seattle, represented here on this pitch. Tried to find Meek, and he couldn't find an extra gear. Thomas setting it up. Keeping it in bounds. Deflected. Abrahamian. Kosarienzi tripped up. And there's the whistle. Richmond tangled up with Kosarienzi and eventually has the foul called on him. Sam Fowler to take the free kick himself. Fowler trained with the U.S. under-17 national team, was called up to the under-19 men's national squad for the Slovakia Cup a few years ago. Fantastic experience for him. 5 saves and a clean sheet the last time these two squads met. Beyond Miglietti. At top speed down the far sideline. And trying to bother Saylor. Stanford to throw it in. On the ground, Wien towards the touchline, trying to center, but can't find Siegel, as there were 3 purple shirts in the way. Turning, and the spinner goes wide. Just over 60 minutes in here on the farm. We're scoreless between Washington and Stanford. Troy Clarity here. Great to have you with us on the Pac-12 Network. This match has had just about everything we expected it to have up to this point. Only thing missing is a goal. Gabe Threadgold coming back into the match as he replaces Gio Miglietti. Threadgold saw 7 minutes of action in the first half off of O'Brien. Soto chopped down in the middle. Meek trying to fight free. Does. Outside, Tevis keeps it. Tevis on the ground and able to get there. Meek came crashing in. And Thomas hangs on for dear life. Referee making sure that Meek stays separated from a couple of Cardinal defenders, Ludwig and Abrahamian. You gotta have some courage to be a keeper and to get balls in traffic, especially low and especially when opposing players are crashing in on you, like Meek was. And Meek has some size to him as well, 6'2". As we have another look, a hard one, and he was able to take it, but certainly contact made between Meek and Andrew Thomas. And Meek does go in the book with the yellow card. Third one of the match. Second one for UW. Sent forward towards Threadgold. Threadgold fighting for it back. Ostrom. Blocked. O'Brien. O'Brien with a couple of fine defensive sequences as Seagull chopped down from behind by Crowley. Well, any coach will tell you defense starts up front. Obviously, job number one for strikers is to put the ball in the back of the net, but if you can also help with defensive efforts, get the ball back, pressure defenders, then that will certainly be a few more boxes that you can check off for your team. Ostrom certainly checks off a lot of boxes. Off Abrahamian. And another throw in for the Huskies. Richmond, Silly, out to Tingy. Tingy with time. And Rian tried to sweep it forward, but didn't get a good foot on it. Outside, O'Brien. O'Brien centers. Saylor gets the head. Trickles beyond Meek. And an emphatic clear from Ostrom. Threadgold chasing it down, and it's off of Ludwig out of bounds. Back to Ostrom. And out of bounds. O'Brien and Wien, the two seniors honored before today's match coming off. Carlo Agostinelli and Zach Ryan returning. Ryan did not start today, in case you're just joining us. Was doubtful for this match after a very hard tackle in the late going against Oregon State up in Corvallis last week. Soto wins it. Tevis. And the flag up. Offside the call on the Huskies. Huskies at 10-2 on the season. Had an early loss against Oregon State, but then ripped off an impressive win streak of 6 in a row, including a 1-0 win over Stanford back on March the 20th. And Jamie Clark said that, look, the 19 team was a very special team. Not as many superstars on this year's squad. It's not like, you know, we were devoid of accolades coming into this year. But the start that the Huskies got off to this season proved to him that 19 season may not have been a mirage for this program. That the Huskies might very well be here to stay at or near the top of the Pac-12 for quite a while. Out of bounds, Husky throw-in. In Ostrom's direction. Had Agostinelli closing in on him. Switching field. Scardina. And out of bounds off of the Cardinal. Scardina from Portland, Oregon. That's Timbers territory. Jamie Clark very happy to get him out of there. Kalani Kosarienzi to throw it in. Sailor in the area. And off of his head into Thomas's arms. Off of Tevis. Tevis. Maybe waited a bit too long. Swarmed by Cardinal defenders all around him. Then again, maybe that would have been a tough pass for him to make no matter when he tried to get it off. Balls to Abrahamian. Footwork. Punching it ahead. And out of bounds. Folks hanging out beyond the back rail, checking out this match. And folks here inside Laird Q. Kagan Stadium, mostly guests of players, of the student athletes. I would chide those folks for not paying for admission, but I don't think anybody did here today. But that has added a bit of atmosphere to this match that generally hasn't been here at Kagan Stadium for much of this year, as Carlo Agostinelli has helped over to the Stanford bench, the redshirt freshman from London. Agostinelli has had some terrific moments for him, a couple of assists on the year, playing in 12 matches this season. Gunn very, very happy for him. But Agostinelli coming off, and Aiden Weaver replacing him on the pitch. Aiden Weaver saw a few minutes in the first half. I was at Stanford Cal Women's Soccer yesterday over in Berkeley. And Cal Women's Soccer playing this season on the rugby field because Edwards Stadium is booked with the track and field team. And the rugby stadium is right across the street from the football stadium, Cal Memorial Stadium. Tightwad Hill, of course, overlooks Cal Memorial Stadium. You see a bunch of fans hang out up there and watch the games instead of getting into the stadium and watching it. But Tightwad Hill also has a nice overlook of the rugby field. So just a few folks inside the confines of Witter Rugby Field yesterday to watch Stanford Cal women's soccer. But behind on Tightwad Hill, there were like 75 folks. It was kind of nifty to see. All socially distanced. That was nice. Weaver switches, far side. Feeds ahead in the box towards the 18, centered over Weehan's head. Cardinal trying for another chance. Meek puts an emphatic end to that. Fisher searching on the ground. Turning, will he uncork? He will, but it's blocked before it can even get inside the 18. Here comes Tevis, countering. Tevis. Tripped up. We play on. And we may have had something develop right in front of the Stanford bench. As Tevis was dispossessed of the ball, and he goes into the book with the yellow card. And after that sequence, Tevis may have taken his frustration out on whomever got the better of him on that far sideline. So 3 yellows in the match for the Huskies. Off of Threadgold, but he recovers. The hard touch down the sideline, trying to give himself a chance to extend, and the foul called on Stanford. And we might be reaching a point where the official might have to start taking perhaps a little drastic measures to keep this game in order as Keegan Tingey gets shown the yellow card.
Are you ready? Let's get it started.
Kind of a dream come true, honestly.
I can't see my life without it.
That's why that guy's going to play in the NFL. What a throw!
They're to be the faces of the NFL.
You're on that team. You're on that team.
Oh my goodness!
He's a different kid. He wants to be great, but you just never know.
Welcome to the NFL Draft.
Set piece for UW. This is where they have been very, very dangerous for much of the year, both in execution and in defense. Ostrom with that wand to the left foot. What magic might he bring out in this sequence? Bending right to Thomas, who makes the easy catch. Weaver. High attempt to switch field. It was 2-on-1, and the 2 won the battle. And the chase on the far side. Ryan, Ostrom. Ostrom coolly plays it back. Fowler clears it. Trying to locate it. Swiped forward for the Cardinal. Hughes. Bothered by Kosarienzi. We're playing on. And that spins out of bounds. Sailor wanted to know where the flag was as Hughes took Kosarienzi down to the turf a bit. Charlie Whean about to come in. getting some last-minute instruction from Jeremy Gunn. Wynn replacing Gabe Siegel. Ludwig in the air, the punch out from Fowler. Trying to save it, can't do it. Washington throw in. And a substitution forthcoming from the Huskies. As Miglietti coming back in, the 6-foot junior from Southern California. Miglietti replacing Nick Scardina. Mentioned yesterday I was at Stanford Cal women's soccer. The Cardinal beating the Bears 1-0 in overtime. Kiki Pickett, one of the all-time greats for Stanford women's soccer, with the assist on Savannah Coleman in the 93rd minute. And with that, barring unforeseen circumstances, Stanford women's soccer season likely ended yesterday, as that one was headed towards Wynn, but taken care of by the UW defense. The defending national champion Stanford women's soccer season in all likelihood ended yesterday with a 6-6-2 record. A lot of injuries, inability to train throughout the long layoff. Those were two of the main reasons for the Cardinals' inability to successfully defend its national championship. So the road in all likelihood over for Stanford women's soccer this season. Washington women's soccer in good shape, as they, in all likelihood, will be one of the 48 teams getting on a plane to North Carolina and participating in the women's soccer tournament. But there will be a new champion in women's soccer for this season. Will there be a new champion in Pac-12 men's soccer this year? Or will the new boss be the same as the old boss? That's what's at stake here this afternoon. Washington, the current champs. Stanford trying to get it back. And the bump from behind, Crowley in the area. Seeing a lot of players on both sides during dead balls, taking opportunities to stretch out. Wynn certainly one of them, taking his time getting back up to his feet. And this is always a very intriguing spot to take a free kick. Sam Fowler well aware of that, directing the traffic. Tingy to take it. We go near post. Nope, puts it up in the air, and Fowler goes up to get it. Thought Tingy might go hard towards the near post. Instead, tried to go in the air towards the back. And Fowler was able to snuff that one out. Outside Abrahamian. Bending. No one there for the Cardinal. Burks. And settled on the far side by Richmond. And eventually played back. Ludwig. Fisher. Abrahamian. Looking. Back to Hughes. Now finally played forward down the sideline. Kept in bounds momentarily. Cosa Rienzi. Switching, Wien settles, side netting. Well, finally, the switch came and it fell to Aiden Weaver as Weaver had the opportunity. And a good ball by Ryan. And Weaver in the right place. But that would have been a very, very difficult angle for him to pull off. Aiden Weaver, a freshman, getting playing time in a critical spot. Meek frustrated, getting bumped off the ball there. Less than 15 minutes remaining in regulation. Still looking for our first score and looking for our Pac-12 champion for this season in men's soccer. Bounces beyond O'Brien and Ostrom. Posting up and falls out of bounds. Troy Clarity here taking you through it. Gorgeous day in the Bay Area. And the day will be even brighter for one of these teams as Michael Rojas appearing in the match for the first time. Redshirt sophomore from Othello, Washington. About to play in his 8th game of the year. The Gatorade Player of the Year for the state of Washington from 2018. A lefty. So let's keep an eye on that. Jamie Clark says that Michael has moments of Maradona as he tries to take on 5-6 guys at a time. And Maradona won more than his share of those battles. Abrahamian the throw in, ranging and somewhere makes the catch. Sam Fowler in the crowd. Ten of the last 11 meetings between Stanford and Washington have been decided by 1 goal or less. We could be making it 11 of 12. At this rate. In the corner, held up by Saylor. Gets help from Ostrom. Stanford throw-in. You hear the communication with the Husky defense. The throw long. Back down to Abrahamian, who waits and accepts the throw-in. Tingy. Converging, shooting just off the crossbar. Cam Silly came oh so close to his first goal in a Cardinal career. Terrific service, finding Silly, but Fowler able to close the angle and make it more difficult than Silly would have liked. That was super close. Substitutions for the Cardinal. Gabe Siegel returning, replacing Charlie William. As we get deeper into regulation, how do you create moments for your team that can win the game? That question looms larger and larger the longer this match goes on. Where will those moments come from? And can you take advantage of the opportunities placed in front of you? Stanford has had more of the opportunities over the last couple of minutes. Towards the penalty spot, but Saylor's there. Off of his head and out of the box. Abrahamian leaves it off. O'Brien with 10 minutes to go in regulation. Cardinals searching for an avenue to build. Step over to the sideline. Pursuit by Rojas, centered in Ryan's direction, but Saylor on the spot. Chased by Miglietti towards Ryan. Off of his foot. And the miscommunication as Ryan came back towards the ball. O'Brien thought that Ryan was going to head further down the sideline. Well, it appears that once again, this match is going to go the distance. 4 out of the last 5 meetings played here in this building between these two have gone to overtime. And as if to emphasize how even those matches tend to be, both teams have won 2. We've had 1 tie. Lost his footing on the far side, allowing the Huskies a chance. Sending it towards Miglietti. Thomas able to get there before anyone else. Right foot, nope, doesn't get there. The pause, sizing it up. And on the ground towards Hughes. 8 minutes to go in regulation. Off of Richmond on the far side. Huskies get it back. Soto settles. Chipped from the back. Well, Stanford and Washington, when they met last month, it wasn't decided until the 85th minute when Dylan Tevis got the go-ahead goal. And Jamie Clark on that match, and as if on cue, Tevis re-enters the game. Clark said, look, we kind of got a handle on things in the second half, and once that happened, we started to play better. Now, it still took us a while to get that goal, but Clark was pleased with how Washington was able to settle down the longer that game went. Maybe not quite the same way in round 2. Certainly, as Jeremy Gunn is fond of saying, the second game is never a continuation of the first. Ryan wanted the foul, didn't get it. It's one of the dynamics of playing soccer, men's soccer in this conference, where you play everyone twice. No secrets to hide. Certainly makes it much more difficult for the coaches and more fun for us to watch and broadcast. Hughes out of bounds. Less than 6 minutes remaining in regulation. And a substitution coming up for the Huskies. Our first chance to see Kai Briscoe as he comes on for Gio Miglietti. Briscoe, a sophomore from Renton, Washington, transferred from Highline Community College. And this is his first match played this year since round 1 between the Cardinal and the Huskies. Can find a bit of a hamstring of late. Here to Abrahamian. The flick. O'Brien trying to get there. Saylor, fantastic job of shielding him off and allowing Fowler to collect. It's gone final down in Westwood, by the way. Cal and UCLA playing to a 3-3 tie. So this is the finale in Pac-12 men's soccer. Here's Tevis. Tevis. Here's the call from Soto, but Jack O'Brien once again coming back and playing defense. Stanford in transition. Looking for options. Fancy footwork. And Stanford to regroup. Towards the corner. With 4 minutes to go. Towards O'Brien, but off the mark. As O'Brien more active as we go along here. And as we go along on a big day on the Pac-12 network after we're done here on the farm, a top 10 softball matchup as the 4th-ranked Ducks head north to take on 6th-ranked Washington. Game 1 of a Saturday doubleheader. That is after we are finished here on the farm on Pac-12 Network, or download and stream live wherever you might be with Pac-12 Now. Better living through modern technology. But first, we need to decide things here. Out of bounds off Saylor. Nobody there except Fowler. 3 minutes to go. Fowler officially credited with 2 saves so far this afternoon. Briscoe on his sprint. Thomas with no saves officially credited to him at this point. No shots on goal for UW. And just 4 shots overall. Stanford out shooting Washington to this point 10-4. Burks with the header. O'Brien. Siegel. Siegel, no. Gabe Siegel scored at Washington in the 2019 season, a heater off of Oseni Buddha. That Siegel was able to deflect into the net. Less than 2 minutes remaining in regulation. From Fowler. As Nate Jones has entered the match, replacing Kai Briscoe. Jones, a freshman from Gig Harbor, Washington. Turning. Jones comes in. Soto the feed towards Tevis. Broken up by the Cardinal. Ahead, Ryan. And now the chase is on. Inside center, the takedown in the box. O'Brien resets, he shoots. And it's skipped off towards Fowler. Fowler collects and sends it out of there. Plenty of contact, perhaps a takedown in the box, but we played on. Down the sideline, Tevis hangs on to it at the other end. Tevis dispossessed. Cardinal with 30 seconds left in regulation. The feed. Waiting, stopping, poked, nope. Off the Husky defender and out of bounds. Can Stanford get one final chance, a quick throw in? And the center attempt is blocked by the Huskies. And with that, we go to overtime. One final flurry, not enough for the Cardinal. The contact inside the 18, not called. And with that, we are headed to extra time. What else would you expect between Stanford and Washington? You just knew it was going to be this way. We still have a champion to crown. We'll get closer to it in just a moment. Scoreless after 90 minutes. Scoreless on the farm between Washington and Stanford as we begin overtime. And regulation finished up with some pretty tense moments as Stanford with the potential opportunity to get the go-ahead goal in the final minute. Well set up, watch the takedown. Ostrom perhaps maybe getting away with one. O'Brien maybe waiting for the whistle and it didn't really come. So he might have had a chance to uncork a nice shot and get a good look at it, but perhaps that hesitation prevented Stanford from getting a clean shot. Ostrom involved there. Ostrom, a big fan of this rivalry, and he's very pumped up about Washington and Stanford.
I mean, it means so much. Like, I really respect Stanford. They're a great team, and I think it's going to feel so good to have a chance to just go down there and play our hearts out. And I love it when it's on the line. We love the pressure, so we're ready.
One more on that in a sec, but a look at the statistics through the first 90 minutes of this one is Stanford has outshot Washington 11-4 so far in this match. No shots on goal to this point for the Huskies and just 2 for Stanford. Fouls a bit on the high side, of course, you might expect that, and 5 yellow cards combined for both of these squads. You'd expect that, especially when the stakes are as high as they are in this match. A reminder of what's at stake here is the Pac-12 title, plain and simple. The scenarios are now these. Washington, a win or a tie gives them the Pac-12 championship for this season, with Kai Briscoe exhorting his team to try to finish this off and hopefully get a win for the Huskies. Meanwhile, for Stanford, if they win this one, then they claim the conference championship for this season. Would give them 6 of the last 7 if they're able to pull it off. But Stanford can only win the championship and slap on a 2020 to that bottom ledger with a win here today. Tie will do them no good in that department. Overtime rules, of course, if you're not familiar with them, we'll play 2 10-minute overtime periods, and it's a sudden victory situation. If either team scores before those 2 overtime periods expire, then that's it. The game is over, and we will award the championship to somebody. If nobody scores, then the game is declared a tie, and for today, the championship trophy will go to the Washington Huskies. Huskies are the current Pac-12 champions, as they actually led the conference wire to wire last season, went 14-1, their best start since 1982. And from there, went on to win the Pac-12 championship. I remember talking to Jamie Clark last year, and he said, you know, historically, we're a much better team in the second half of seasons, but in that 2019 year, there were teams chasing them. They were the hunter, or the hunted rather, instead of being the hunter. So the Huskies with a chance to go back to back. Stanford with a chance to get back to the top. Off we go. Overtime is here. Soto headed it out towards Meek, but instead broken up by the Cardinal. Fowler well off this line, puts a head on it just beyond the 18-yard box, and that one is cleared out. Stanford has gone to overtime twice this year. A draw against Cal on March 24th. Before that, a 1-0 overtime win at San Diego State. Gabe Siegel with the decider in the 91st minute. Only the second time this year that the Huskies have gone to overtime. That was when they hosted San Diego State on March the 6th. Down 2-0, scored with inside a minute left in regulation to tie it, and then got the game-winning penalty kick goal to win it from Dylan Tevis. That was on March 6th. That is the only overtime experience for the Huskies this year. Off of Abrahamian. Ostrom with the throw-in. Trying to settle. I believe Meek had a chance to get a foot on it, but just couldn't direct it goalward. Cardinal countering. To Siegel. Poke forward, through ball, the takedown in the box, and no whistle once again. So for the second time in the last few minutes of game time, bit of contact there, as Kosa Rienzi came in to impede. That was a bit more of a bump than anything. Perhaps the sequence that was not called at the end of regulation. Certainly more contact there. Scardina knocks it out of bounds. To the corner, to the touchline, centered Saylor. Slides it out for help. Washington wanted offside, they don't get it. Hiking it towards the back post, Jack O'Brien doesn't hang on to it. O'Brien has been busy throughout this match and has perhaps done his best work winning balls and breaking up plays along UW's back line. A reminder of what we're playing for here today. As there is a trophy to be handed out at the end of this one. Meek calls for it, has a little time, and knocks it off of Abrahamian. Well, everyone in the South Bay, I think, heard Lucas Meek calling for that one. Meek, while he was injured a couple years ago, his duty was to film a scrimmage. Nobody wants that gig, but Meek took it with aplomb. Did play-by-play and commentary and post-game interviews. He might be doing this very soon. Tevis, the corner kick. In the air, back post towards Burks, beyond him. Burks trying to extend it. Husky throw-in. Burks fighting a hamstring coming into this one, but he has played all 94-plus minutes of this match. So is Ryan Saylor. Similar situation for him. Kai Briscoe re-entered the match a few moments ago. High looping throw, bounces, and the attempt at the bicycle from Tevis goes awry. Out of Ryan's reach and off of Burks. Mentioned Kai Briscoe back in the match. You might remember his sister, Asia, who played for Washington women's soccer from 2016 to 2019. Doing my prep for this match, I said, I thought that name sounds familiar. And it was. Slide tackle. Washington wants a foul. They don't get it. And then Soto gets called for a foul. And now temper starting to boil over slightly. We've had a couple of moments, nothing serious, but a couple of moments like this where emotions run high. Well, I believe it was Soto with the return slide tackle after a hard tackle by the Cardinal. Did not get called, much to the Huskies' chagrin. And now Stanford presented with a free kick opportunity. Off the head and into the net for the score! And the Cardinals are off and running with the Pac-12 Championship. Zach Ryan, doubtful for this game, but no doubt about that one, as his 10th goal of the year gives the Cardinal its 6th Pac-12 championship in the last 7 years. The final score in overtime, Stanford 1, Washington 0, and the Cardinal wear the crown once again in the Pac-12. The celebration is on as the Cardinal exhale with the championship. Stanford finishing the regular season at 9-2-1 on the season, 7-2-1 in Pac-12 play, while the Huskies finish at 10-3 and 7-3 in conference action. Both teams are headed to the NCAA tournament, but it is the Cardinal who get the automatic bid as the Pac-12 champion. We thought this would be a high-stakes, dramatic match, and we got it. There's the gear. The Cardinal are your Pac-12 champions. On behalf of our Pac-12 Network crew, I'm Troy Clarity. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Be safe, be happy, stay sane.